Hi, it's Rebecca. Today I want to talk to you about one of the metaphysical teachers that I studied with. He was a fascinating character. His name was Anthony Norvell. You may not have heard of him. He wrote a lot of books, and I met him in New York City in the 1970s. He was teaching at the Warwick Hotel. He had formerly taught at Carnegie Hall for many years, and I think he started teaching in the 60s. But he was a very, very interesting one. He traveled the world seeking out the mysteries of the universe. He was a seeker, and he lived in Hollywood for many years, and he called himself the Hollywood astrologer. He met many of the celebrities back in the day who were very, very famous people. And he told great stories about people like Elizabeth Taylor, Grace Kelly, Rock Hudson, Doris Day, you name it. He met them. And he was very involved with the Hollywood scene back in the day. But he went on to become quite the metaphysical teacher, writing many, many books that you can find on Amazon or in bookstores. Anthony Norvell was his name. And so I took a series of classes with him at the Warwick Hotel back in the 70s. And I just wanted to share some of the highlights of it because he had a very interesting approach to metaphysics. He made it really exciting, adventurous. He used to talk about how it was a divine adventure to go on when you began to understand the secrets of the universe and how you could apply them in your life to experience life in a much richer way. And he was all about that. He kind of liked to live life on the higher planes of physical and mental consciousness. But he would show up for classes in a white suit. He was always dressed in a white suit. And he said he did that intentionally because most preachers and ministers and priests always wore black. And he thought that was depressing. Black to him was not a color that was uplifting. So he always wore a white suit and he looked fabulous. He was very charismatic, had an incredible speaking voice, almost hypnotic. He could, go on and on teaching us these laws of the universe in a way that it would really penetrate into our consciousness. And he would attract people from all over Manhattan that would come and listen to him. And I just wanted to share a few of the stories that he taught that really resonated with me and that I've carried with me, ever since. Because back then, it was quite a few years ago, back in the 70s when I met him and went to a whole series of classes. One of the stories I especially liked was the one about the magic circle. He would talk about how if you extend your arms out from your body and you imagine that there's a circle about the width of whatever your reach is that surrounds you, it's your aura. And it goes even further than that. But if you imagine yourself living inside this magical circle, this aura, where you can be exactly who you choose to be, not what you're taking in from everyone reacting to you and teaching you how you should behave. And here's the story he told. When he was teaching at Carnegie Hall, he arrived there one day and there was this young woman sitting on the steps crying her eyes out. He said she had dirty blonde hair and she was sobbing. And he asked her what the problem was. And she told him that she was studying acting in Carnegie Hall and her acting coach teacher had just told her she might as well just go home and marry her high school boyfriend because she was never going to be a great actress. She had no talent. And she was heartbroken because this was her dream to become an actress. So Anthony Norvell sat down with her and explained to her the magic circle and how if she imagined that she lived in this magical circle where she could be a princess and command whatever she chose to happen in her life because she had the princess vibration and she was able to just become that and step into it. She could live her life in a whole different level. The way he explained it to her resonated. She took it to heart. She went on to win an Academy Award and became Princess Grace Kelly. So there you go. Thoughts are things. And that's what Anthony Norvell knew. He knew that the power of the thought, the imagination, the mind was what was guiding every one of us through this life. And once we learned how to use it in a way that served us, rather than letting us be humiliated or confused or, beaten up by the world, we could turn it around. And it didn't matter what it was. We could always turn it around. That was his philosophy. He used to also tell stories about how in Greece, where he traveled, he noticed that the people that lived there that were not wealthy at all, more of the peasant class, had something called Fantasia. And they would play games imagining that they were very, very wealthy and they had everything they wanted and that they were rich and living exciting lives, even though they couldn't afford any of that. But they could make themselves happy just daydreaming about it and imagining that that was the way they were really living. So he called it Fantasia. I guess that was the name they gave it. Another story he told was how you could use the Chinese method to write a book. If you have a story you want to tell, you find a book that's been a bestseller and you look at how it's formatted. You look at the chapters to see how long they are, how much is put into each one. And the Chinese method is you copy it, but not verbatim or not the story. It's your own story, but you look at what made that book a bestseller and you just use that as a trigger or an outline to make your book successful. He had all sorts of fascinating little stories that he would tell us about how to use our minds to think outside the box and to be able to develop charisma and spiritual sense and tap into this higher intelligence like he did in order to manifest the things that we desire in this life. He was very good at it.